Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. On today's video, we're going to be talking about boxing and kickboxing. Now, we're not going to be talking about the sports of boxing and kickboxing, right? I'm not really interested in that. I'm a Christian, so I really don't find a lot of entertainment in beating people up and watching people, participate in sports where, the objective of the sport is to hurt somebody. I recognize in sport people can get hurt, but I don't like sports where the objective is to hurt. So I'm not going to talk about the sports, but the training involved in those sports, right? So boxing and kickboxing as training is a fantastic form of cardiovascular training. It's an alternative to the traditional cardio, bike, treadmill, all that stuff, right? So today what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be going over the 8 reasons that I could think of that everybody should consider putting or starting to implement whatever boxing, kickboxing types of training into their weekly, monthly program. So if you're somebody that's kind of sick and tired of just walking to the gym and getting on the treadmill or doing that same old boring stuff, and you're looking for something to kind of add some oomph to your training, right? You're looking for something exciting, then stick around. This video is for you. I think today I'm going to do the first 4, and then in part 2 I'll do the second 4, okay? So stick around. So I don't know if you guys are anything like me, but anytime I'm somewhere and I'm listening to somebody publicly speak, I don't care if it's a lecturer at university, if it's a pastor in church, I don't care if it's another YouTuber giving us, a list. Anytime somebody makes a statement like, I'm going to provide for you or to you the top 3, the top 5, the top 8, whatever, I want that list up front. So because that's what I like and that's what I want, I'm going to do the same for you. So here's the top 7 reasons that I could come up with, and this list is not in any particular order, okay? So number 1, cardiovascular endurance, the stamina element. Number 2, it helps develop athletic movement. We'll talk about what that means in a minute. Number 3, it turns on your brain. We'll talk about that in a minute. Number 4, right? Number 4, it builds strength. Number 5, it's an unbelievable stress reliever, right? Psychologically. Number 6, I'll go back to my American Sign Language days, right? Number 6, caloric burning. It burns tons of calories. And number 7, right? ASL, American Sign Language, number 7, you can do it anywhere. So it's very accessible. So now that you've got the list, let's talk very briefly about each of those 7 and what I mean by it. Okay, so number one, right? Okay, cardiovascular stamina, right? Endurance. So whether you're running in place, whether you're on a bike, whatever, right? Get your heart rate up because you're constantly moving. So imagine you're standing here and you set up on your phone a little timer, right? 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, 1 minute on, 1 minute off, right? You come in here and you start throwing punches, right? Doesn't even matter how well you throw those punches. I don't care if you're just, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter. If you're just throwing punches, right? So you're throwing a jab and a cross, right? The old 1-2, right? If this one don't kill you, this one will, right? Here we go. What was that thing my friend said? This one's iron and this one's steel. If this one don't get you, this one will, right? So you're sitting here doing this, 1s and 2s, right? You can do it for about 10, 15 seconds. Feels easy, right? After about 30 seconds, you start doing this, that heart starts getting up there. You can feel it. Start out slow, right? Just like any other warm-up or any other activity, right? You don't jump on the treadmill and start sprinting as fast as you can, right? You don't jump on the bike same way. Well, some people do, right? But they ain't got no sense, so don't worry about them, right? So you come in here, start throwing that, right? Then you pick it up, rounds in another minute. Start doing that, right? You can hear my breathing starting to get up there, right? My heart rate is starting to elevate. I guarantee you, my heart rate's probably up to about 90 now. My resting heart rate is about 50. So my heart rate's probably up to about 90. If I do this a little faster, you know, doesn't even matter how you stand. Don't even worry about the mechanics, right? Becoming, you know, really good at it. Don't worry about that, right? Becoming good at it, you know, comes with the practice. So just get in there and just start moving your arms. I don't care how you ball up your fist. I don't care if you slapping. I don't care. Just, right? Just get in there. Start moving those hands, right? Throwing hands. Get that heart rate up, right? You do that for, like, say, 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. Do that for 10, 15, 20 rounds, right? Whatever. Then eventually, you know, after you do that for a while, that 30-second round won't be long enough. You have to jump up to a minute round. And before you know it, that won't be long enough. Then you'll be doing like 3-minute round boxing. So you can set up a timer where you're on for 3 minutes, and then you're off for, say, 30 seconds. Slug some water, wipe it off, get back in the game, right? And then eventually, with technique, right, as you do it, you'll start learning other punches. So instead of just throwing the straights, you know, the ones and the twos, the jabs and the crosses, you'll start incorporating some hooks, right? And again, it doesn't matter how well you do it. Just totally different feel now. Now you're moving rotationally, right? So you went from straight to side, You can do it high, low, right? So you get your heart rate up. So I promise you, doing that for 10, 15, 20 minutes, it's going to elevate your heart rate, and you're going to find yourself getting aerobically, cardiovascularly better, okay? So that's reason number one. Okay, so reason number two, right? I said that it improves athletic movement, or it helps you develop athletic movement. So if you think about it, once you get into it, you know, and you move from this, you start beginning to move a little bit, right? Because this can get boring real quick. So then the next thing you know, you start incorporating an athletic movement. And by athletic movement, I mean a movement that you would see often demonstrated or utilized in a sport, right? So what would be a movement you would see in a sport? A shuffle, right? So you're shuffling forward, you're shuffling back, right? Maybe you're moving to the side, right? I can guarantee you, if I were to ask you, you could probably think of dozens of sports that involve forwards, backwards, you know, lateral shuffling. So boxing incorporates that, right? Because you don't just stand there and say, remember that old game we used to play, real little rock'em sock'em, right? You just have two characters. Well, that ain't real life, right? In real thing, you move forward, backwards, laterally, side to side, right? So that starts translating over to other sports, right? Think about basketball, right? So that way. Also, throwing punches often involves being able to learn how to pivot, right? To pivot at your ankle and to torque, you know, to create torque at your hip. Think about any racket sport. It involves that ability to take that back foot and pivot and generate force through the hip. Tennis, baseball, golf, cricket, whatever, right? And so when you're punching, a lot of punches involve that pivot and hip turn, right? If you're a pitcher, same thing, right? So boxing is going to help you develop that ability. At first, you know, you're just going to stand there and throw like this. It's all going to be with your arms. But eventually, you're going to start understanding that I can only hit so hard with my upper body. I need to create more, you know, force. And you can do that when you pivot and you throw that hip into it, right? Even if you're, you know, a professional pillow fighter, right? I promise you, you're going to hit way harder when you learn to pivot. Boxing, it involves ducking, right? Ducking. You're not going to just stand there and get hit. So you're ducking. You're pulling, right? You're withdrawing, you know. Woo, Floyd Mayweather's awesome at that. He'll come in, pull, and then come back in, right? So you got ducking, you got pulling, right? You got rolling, where you're rolling at the hip. These are all athletic movements, right? And then you have slipping, right? When somebody throws a punch at you and you just want to slip, right? Slip. So it's coming, you just slip, right? You don't have to duck or roll. You just got to slip, right? Slip. This involves a lot of flexion and movement in your spine, in your hips, right? In your core. So think about how many sports involve that kind of movement, right? Extension or flexion in the spine. So it develops athletic movement. Okay, so number 3, I said it turns on your brain, right? So what do I mean by that? Think about it. When you get on a treadmill, how many times have you come into a gym, got onto a treadmill or a row machine or a bicycle, whatever, any typical traditional cardio equipment? Even if you run outside, what do, right? You turn on some music and your brain just zones out and you just start, going forward in a straight line. You don't have to think, really, you just move forward. You can almost fall asleep. It's like when you kind of drive and you get home and you don't even realize how you got there, right? Boxing is one of those activities where you can't do that, because when you start working with a partner with pads, or even just when you're shadow boxing, right? Shadow boxing by yourself, you can't do that. You have to think, because you start throwing combinations. So instead of just throwing jab, 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 right? You start doing that. Eventually you start throwing combinations where somebody says 1, 2, 1, 2, right? 1, 2. So you're listening. You got to listen to that command, 1, 2. You got to process it, remember it, translate it in your brain. Okay, what was 1 again? Oh yeah, what was 2 again? Oh yeah, okay, right? 1's the jab, 2's the cross, right? So, and it's the cross, right? So if you're a lefty, it's opposite. It's this way, right? But I'm just assuming we're all, right? So jab, cross. And then just that act, your brain needs to be in. But then of course, if you have a coach or you have a friend, whatever, it gets more complicated, because then they start saying 1, 1, 2. 1, 1, 2, right? 1, 1, 2. 1, 1, 2. They say 2, 1, 1. Oh, wait a second. 2, 1, 1, right? 2, 1, 1. And you got to start really tuning in, right? You got to be dialed in to your coach or to whatever it is that's feeding you these punch commands, right? 1, 2, 1, right? 1, 2, 1. 1, 2, 1. And somebody's going to be calling it out. 1, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3. 2, 1, 1. Right? Your brain is there. They might say 1, 1, 2, roll, right? 1, 1, 2, roll. 1, 1, 2, roll. 1, 2, roll, right? Whatever. So the commands are getting more involved, right? 1, 1, 2, 2, duck. 1, 1, 2, 2, duck. 1, 1, 2, 2, duck, right? 1, 1, 2, duck, slip. 1, 1, 2, duck, slip. You know? And they start calling it out, and you got to remember, especially when you have somebody that you're working with pads, paddles, because when they start trying to meet you, especially with those paddles, and they say 1, 1, 2, and they go 1, 1, 2, and you mess that up, that 2 is going to come pop you in your face, right? So you've got to be dialed in cognitively, right? It helps with your memory, especially with your memory. You'll find that a lot of people that struggle with their memory, especially older people, it's almost like a fun game where they can just learn to remember these little combinations that you're throwing at them. So it really does enhance your cognitive production ability, okay? Okay, so number 4, I said it helps build strength. So what boxing does is, obviously, as you punch, right, you're having to extend your arm, and that puts a lot of tension on your front delt, on your shoulder, right? You're constantly doing this, right? Have you ever tried to just hold your arm out? Your shoulder gets tired after a minute, minute and a half. So imagine doing that over and over and over, right? Your shoulder is going to start to really feel tension. But imagine you go out and you get these small little plates. This one's 1.25 kilos, right? Just grab these things. And now you can really add a strength element to it, because now instead of just throwing with your hands, you can have some weight. So next thing you know, you're jabbing, but you're jabbing with 1.25 kilo plates attached to your hands, which puts more stress on the shoulder muscle, right? So see, you start going 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? The uppercuts, start throwing those in, right? Start doing kind of like Muay Thai stuff, right? Because in Muay Thai, you can use your elbow. In boxing, you cannot, right? In boxing, you cannot hit with the elbow, but in Muay Thai, you can, right? So you start doing this kind of stuff, and before you know it, your shoulders start getting like steel, right? Your shoulders just start feeling like oak trees. Get that uppercut going. That builds that front delt, right? Throw a quick little thing in there, right? Do some lat raises, then get back in. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Uppercut, uppercut. Press it, right? So boxing with the weights is going to really help build shoulder strength. And when you really get into the defensive part of boxing, you know, when you start getting into the slips and the rolls, you got to really suck your core in and brace, right? So you can't just be all loose. No, you got to brace that core. So when you're going, that dude, you know, you'll be like, yeah, hit me, I dare you, right? You're like a rock, right? Like Wolverine made of adamantium. They'll break their hands punching you. You're so strong there in your core. So shoulders, core, all that stuff. It's going to build crazy Wolverine, oak tree, steel girder strength in your shoulders and your core, okay? Okay, so that's the first 4. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope you guys can see where this is going. I hope just these 4 reasons are starting to convince you to see the value in incorporating boxing and kickboxing stuff into your training routine. So that wraps up today's video. Next one, part 2, we'll get into the last 4. But for now, if you like this video, make sure you leave comments down below. Make sure you hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Okay? So like Rocky said, right? Keep punching, right? That's what he always says, keep punching. I don't really care what you do. Just get out there and do something. Keep getting stronger.